I've saved my progress as mast rope and heart.psd, found inside the 23 to stored folder. And if you're working along with me, you want to make sure that you have this image open and you also have shortlength.jpg because we're going to move the heart-shaped rope into this composition right there. So those two images, have them open. And this is, by the way, the advanced portion of the project because we're going to be using that Puppet Warp command in order to trace this extended length of rope around this heart outline that I've created for you in advance. And it does rely on a bit of manual dexterity. So you may find this to be a hugely fun exercise because it is fairly entertaining. Or you may find it to be a little bit frustrating. So just try to follow along with me, see how you do. Anyway, I've got these various layers going here, heart shape and hands and rope. I'm going to move hands and rope on top of heart shape so that we're tracing the heart shape in the background. And notice that I'm scrolled over to the left-hand side of the image. That's what I want you to do as well, because we're going to be working our way incrementally along this length of rope. It's the easiest way to work, so we're going to take a very different approach than we've taken in the past. However, in the similar department, we're going to once again rely on a smart object. That's exceedingly important because you want to always have the option to modify your settings later on down the line. So with the hands and rope layer active, go to the Layers panel flyout menu and choose this command, Convert to Smart Object, or if you loaded D keys, you can press Control, Command, on the Mac. Then, with the layer converted to a smart object, go to the Edit menu and choose the Puppet Warp command, and that will enter the Puppet Warp mode. Now we need to set some pins, and I want you to set a pin on the far left-hand side of this guy's arms, and then right there at the point at which his fingers grasp onto the rope. And that will just help keep this area stationary. Not altogether stationary, but more or less. And then we'll click to set a pin right there at the bottom of the heart. All right, now set a pin right about there. From here on out, we're doing a lot of right about there. So you just want to track more or less what I'm doing. And with this pin selected, I'm going to drag the entire length of rope, everything from this pin over to the right, upward. So basically, we're taking this big length of rope right here with the hands, if we could see them, and we're tilting them up. And we're ultimately going to wrap them all the way around this heart shape. Now, that's the easiest way to work. If you were to try to set a bunch of points and then move them in a position, you wouldn't get the wraparound. You would end up twisting the rope and crimping it, and that would be fairly deadly. It would look like a mess. This way, we're going to get some halfway decent results once we're done, as you'll see. Anyway, go ahead and set another point right there and drag it upward. Don't worry if you're not getting nice, super round results like I am at this point. I will most assuredly start getting bad results in just a moment as soon as I start wrapping around the top of the heart. But you do just want to incrementally set these points in place like I'm doing. And then I'm just going to check, well, I guess I've got enough length of rope. I don't know. The right side hands are totally off screen, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But notice what I'm doing here is I'm avoiding the pucker in the heart. I'll take care of that in a moment. Right now, I'm just wrapping around the shape as if it's fairly round, a little bit doughy, as you can see. And now I'm moving the pins into different locations, just trying to be diligent as I work along here. Now I'll drag this guy down. Oops, I'm running out of rope. As you can see here, there are the hands. So I need to make it all the way around this shape before I'm done here. So I might move my pins. I might go ahead and scooch them a little over like so. And if I feel like, of course, if I feel like I need more control at any location, I can click to add another pin like so. This looks pretty good with the exception of course, the crimp right there, the pucker that I haven't taken care of. Let's go and drag this guy up and around like that. Oops, I went ahead and set a pin on the wrong part of the rope. And this is very common, by the way. You have to be very careful about this. You would think, because you're working on this front length of rope right there, that Photoshop would be smart enough to put the pin on the front bit of rope, but it's not. It continually does this kind of thing where it's setting the pin on the background area. And in fact, as likely as not, it will do that. So go ahead and press Control-Z or Command-Z on a Mac if you had that same problem. I'll click up here to see if I can add a pin to that location, and then I'll click over here. So I'm just trying to avoid the other rope in the background, and this looks good. And then I could do this number where I try to make the hand stationary, and I click over here to kind of lift the back hands, that is the sleeves. All right, the thing is, that's not all that important, because what we're going to do is we're going to lift just the heart-shaped portion of the rope and we're going to drag and drop it in shortlink.jpg, because that's going to produce the better looking result. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in. Now that we've taken that entire vastly wide length of rope and hands and all that jazz and wrap them around this heart shape, something you can do with Puppet Warp Command if you dare. Now we need to go ahead and account for the warp. Now notice this number right here. Just the tiniest little drags of these pins can create these weird puckers like so. So you need to avoid that. You want a pucker down here on the inside of the heart, but that's it. Otherwise, we don't want any crimps. We want to keep things as smooth as possible, which is going to be hard. And you may need to set some other pins in place. Look at that. That pin just smoothed things off beautifully. That won't last long. Believe me, as soon as I create a pin that I'm going to drag down into this crimp right there, the crimp I want, then we're going to start having problems. All right, we want to create some very close by points like this, although maybe not that close, because we do need to dig into that little sort of puckered crease right there. And you know, your results are going to be a little bit different than mine, undoubtedly. In fact, I'm getting different results than I got just a moment ago when I was trying this out in advance. So, you know, just do your best in terms of trying to match the contours of this heart. I'm going to create another pin right there at that location. You may find it helpful to select one of the pins and just nudge it around using the arrow keys on the keyboard. And at some point, you should get a halfway decent result. I really want to fill in this area is what I'm trying to do, because we're going to mask it, actually. So if the rope goes outside of the blackness, that's okay, because we'll mask it into the blackness. What you don't want is what I'm seeing right here, which is not enough rope to fill up the black. That's actually kind of a problem. Now, it'd be great if we could switch to a different mode here. If we could switch from normal to distort and just fatten up the rope like crazy. Unfortunately, that fattens up the rope too much, and it's also rather chaotic. In other words, we get this big, thick, chunky bit of rope here, and then we get some very thin rope elsewhere along the contour of this heart shape. So that's not really going to work out for us. I'm going to switch back to normal. That's going to give us better results. All right, so I'll go ahead and drag this pin a little bit, and I'll drag this guy as well, and so on, and yada, and yada. And once I'm done, and I feel like I'm done, I'll go ahead and press the Enter key or the Return key on a Mac in order to accept my modification. Now then, let's go ahead and finish off the effect. I'm going to right-click on that filter mask thumbnail there in the Layers panel, and I'm going to choose Delete Filter Mask because we don't need that darn thing. Then I'm going to Control-click or Command-click on the heart-shape layer icon. Then I'm going to Control-click or Command-click on the thumbnail for heart shape. It's very important that you Control-click or Command-click on that thumbnail in order to load up that selection outline like so. Then the hands and rope layer should still be active. Drop down here to the Add Layer Mask icon and click on it in order to convert that heart to a layer mask. All right, now then, notice that we have both of the images open, both masked rope and heart.psd as well as shortlink.jpg. I'm going to press the Control key or the Command key on the Mac to temporarily get the Move tool, and I will Control drag or Command drag this length of rope onto this tab, like so, onto the shortlink.jpg tab, then move my cursor back into the image window after the image switches, and then drop that length of rope into place. And we now have this bit of rope like so, and now just Control drag or Command drag it to taste, so it more or less matches the rope in the background, and you have a heart-shaped rope just like that. Now, it's not perfect. You'll probably have a little bit of weirdness right there in the crease, but it looks awfully darn good, thanks to a combination of Puppet Warp and masking here inside Photoshop.